welcome back to the studio tonight. Okay, so tonight we're going to paint another bird. I believe this is a mockingbird. It's kind of an interesting little bird, this picture of it anyway. It's got some nice gray around it. It's got a little blue in its breast here, and underneath it seems to have a little pink tone. So we're going to be able to have a little fun with this bird with some coloration. And I think tonight, instead of using my big palette, I'm just hanging the bird up here to use as a reference. I'm going to go ahead and try to use my travel palette. It's kind of fun to use. It's got all the basic colors on there. It's got plenty of mixing area, and I don't know, I just wanted to mix it up a little bit tonight, even though I'm in the studio, something a little bit different. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of color. I'm going to start with a little Payne's gray. I'm mixing in a little bit of yellow. It's going to lighten that down to a really soft gray color. Just almost a little bit of green in there. We can just touch some red, and it will just give it a really nice warm gray color for us. Oops, I got my brushes under there. They're rattling. Let me slide those up there. Alright, so I've got my gray color. I've mixed it down with a little bit of water. Here it is. I guess maybe I can, let's see, move that in to the screen. Maybe you can see that. There we go. So here I've got a nice light gray color. And you know what? I'm going to stop right there before I even get started. I forgot I'm going to paint this guy's eye, and his eye, he's kind of got two different colors on it. His iris out here is almost an ochre color. I'll leave that, and just enough room for a little highlight in there. And I'm going to let that dry for just a second. In the meantime, I'm going to come back in and lay in some nice little gray down here. It's going to be the base color for our bird. We're going to go over it a little bit, but I want to get some color on him, kind of following the general outline of this bird. Okay, there we go. At this point, I could mix up a little bit of this red, just ever so slight. Red is such a strong color. I could put just a little bit of this pink down in the bottom, down here, and let that flow around a little bit. We've already got a little bit of pink in our gray, so it shouldn't bother it too much. Then I'm just going to keep my color coming straight up here, right on around. I'm just leaving his wing here just the way it is a little bit. I'm just going to let that get a little bit of a hard edge on it. Just a slight bit of a hard edge, so that when I go back, there will be a definitive break there between his wing and where his chest is, his breast is. Alright, I'm just going to finish going right up around. I'm going to be careful really not to touch his eye. There we go. Just go right around that. Oops, I might have just barely tapped it there. In fact, I did. I can see it starting to bleed out. I'm going to let it just go. I've got a bit of a harder edge on that wing. Oops, I'm sorry. I got to turn this a little bit. Just lay my brush down so the fat part of my brush is really getting a lot of the paint on that picture. Let's see, what does this go down to? Oh, it goes down to his wing. I guess I didn't draw it quite as well as I had hoped. There we go. right into his wing there. And I'm going to go right down on his tail, which comes down here. And this is our first layer. We're just blocking in some color. It's not going to be perfect for us. We're definitely going to have to go over it again. But we want to give it a nice little base color for us to work with on the next go around. And there's his tail right there. You know what, I'm not sure I got all of his head over here. We're going to make sure we get that this time. Right like that. There we go. And what else do I need? Let's see. He's got a leg there. That's going to go on a leg there. Tree branch here. That tree branch is really light. It's actually lighter of a gray color than what we have been using. So I'm going to mix up a gray for that. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. A little bit of blue in here and a little bit of yellow. Alright, I've made my own gray, and I just did that because I want to make sure that whatever gray I use in this little branch is going to be different than whatever gray I use in my bird. So it doesn't matter a whole lot if the two, you know, what am I trying to say? It doesn't matter if this gray matches the picture so much, because nobody's really going to grab the two and start looking at them and say, oh, well, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. Well, somebody might do that. You'll probably only do it once because you'll probably never show them another picture of yours again. But it's possible that somebody could do that, but highly unlikely. So we've got two different grays. They're going to kind of darken at a different rate. They're going to look slightly different. And we're not going to have to worry a whole lot about them blending in exactly together. Alright, so here we've got our bird basically done. He's a little damp here. I'm going to take the blow dryer. Come on, I got some cables over there. And give it a blow dry and get on with the next coat. Here we go. Alright, it's cold and damp here a little bit today, and so it's not drying quite as well as I'd hoped. But we'll make it work. Okay, let's look at this and see what we need to do. First thing, before I do anything else, I'm going to get my tiniest little brush, and I'm going to give this guy a pupil. I'm going to try to remember to leave a little bit of white there for a highlight. There we go. It already looks better already. Always, 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 if you get the eye just right, it brings a lot of life to anything you paint. Okay, so let's see what we've got on our picture here. Darker up on top of his cap up here, so we're going to darken that in. He's got some pretty dark wings. We're going to make those darker, and down on his tail feathers a little bit. We might put a little extra shading in here just to give him some roundness. We'll give a little detail up here for some feathers. But let's see what we can do. So let's take my gray color here. Just get a little bit on my brush. And right around this cap here, all the way around, it's, oh, I touched the wrong paint. It's a little dark. There we go. I'm going to let that blend on out. There we go. Got that little bit there. Alright, he's got a little bit of... Actually, I should probably draw in, paint in, draw in. Yeah, I'll just draw it in. I should probably paint in some of his beak here. His beak is mostly dark. Seems to be a dark brownish color. Actually, I can't do his beak quite yet. I need to let that dry ever so slightly. Gives me time to come and put some extra darkness right back here. Let me see. Right, like kind of on his shoulder, so it comes up here, goes down. Then I'm just going to wipe the brush, let a little bit of water stay on there, just put a little dampness on there, and let just the edge of that paint flow out. There we go. And while we're waiting up here, let's go ahead, do just a bit of his tail down here. Now I might have to do the tail a couple of times. It looks like he's got a few dark lines here and there on his tail. Let's see. Dark on the outside out there. A little bit on the inside. Not too much. Just blend that out a little bit. There we go. Doing it this way you can control a lot. If you're not really good at getting paint onto and off of your brush like me, you often load it up with too much water. You're not good at using the very tip. There, I got a fine line right there. My eyesight isn't what it used to be. My depth perception isn't what it used to be. So sometimes I've got to use this method just to get as thin a line as I want to get on there. That's okay. I've learned to make it work, and you get some really interesting effects by doing this method. Just putting your paint on and then just blending the edge out. Once you learn to do this method, you can really control the paint pretty well. Here we go. Just going to bring that out a little bit. Right on down. Let's see, his beak is probably ready at this point. I know I can go from all the way in there, right on out. That looks like the top of his beak to me. Just comes down a little bit. There we go. How far it comes in here. Quickly, once it gets to his head, it quickly drops down. It doesn't. Some birds, their beak seems to go back onto their head quite a bit more. This guy's doesn't seem to go that far. A little bit further on the bottom than on the top, but all in all, not that far really. Let's see, I'm going to do this just like that. I guess he's got his beak just barely open. That's fine with me. I think that works. Let's see. I'm going to mix up a little bit of my brown here. Just a touch of my yellow ochre. And I want to give him underneath here a little bit of color, going right up to that beak almost. There we go. Right down along underneath his chin, his throat area there, I guess. Let's see, there we go. right up there, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing on the top. I don't want it to be really a hard edge. I want to give you the indication of that, but let your mind tell you that that's there. Perfect, there we go. Oops, that's the wrong one. Okay, and I need to give him a little bit darker value out here on his wings. That might be a little... The only thing I don't like about this set of paints that I have right here's my yellow ochre is an opaque color. I really wish it was a transparent color. I make it work, but it's the only one in this set that's it's opaque instead of transparent, and it really makes me wish they hadn't done that. They'd have just made them all transparent. This would have been my favorite set. Actually, it might be my favorite set. I shouldn't say too much. I really do like this set of paints. This one is Van Gogh set. That's who makes this one. It's a very nice set of paints. You can see by what it looks like that I've used it quite a bit. I'm going to keep using it until all my colors are gone. I really do like it. So any indication by me that it's not a fantastic set of paints really is unfair, because it's very good. So, but I do wish they would make that transparent. Well, maybe the next time, maybe the next set they'll get it, or I'll just buy it. I guess I could just buy a transparent one and put in there. That would probably work just as well. Alright, here we go. Let's see. Now I'm going to put some gray down on his belly down here, and this is where I had previously put that little bit of pink. Just down here, I could tap that again just to keep that pink color in there. There we go. We know that's underneath him. A little bit of shadow down there. I've probably got a little bit of shadow over here underneath his wing too, but I don't want to get that too dark under there. I want his wing to stand out. So I'm not going to put all of... Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to put that all the way up there. I've already touched it and gotten a small run, which I didn't want. Just tap and take care of that. It's just watercolors. We'll just go right back over it. We're going to have to go back over the entire thing though. There we go, no big deal. Problem averted. I'm just going to go right up to that edge. That color's going to just blend all the way up there. Now you can see I've got a little lighter here and a little darker here with the underside of his wing. I hope you can see that. It really makes that look 3D right there. Now what I need to do is come back into my gray here, or fashion another gray for my twig here, and just touch that blue. You see me, I'm just barely touching some of these colors. Got them just slightly damp before I started, and I just barely touch it, come back out, and it usually gives me just enough color to paint with. It's not an overpowering amount of color, but just enough so that when I want to put on the indication of something, you'll just be able to see it. So here we go, putting on the shadow on the bottom of this twig. going across is going to make that stand out a lot. See, there's shadow over there. I know there's some here. I can see where it's at. There we go. I'm going to get a tiny little liner brush. I'm going to try to give just a little bit on the top. Hope I don't get too much. I think I've already gotten too much there. I just need this tiniest little amount to set this off. There we go, that's a better amount. So that you know where the edge of this is. I'm not one really to outline a lot of stuff, but sometimes when you've got similar colors right next to each other, if you can just do the tiniest amount of color on something, it really will help it to jump out of the page at you. Okay, what else do we need to do here? We need some feet or some legs on here. His legs are dark. If I look at the picture, they're kind of the same color as the underside of his wings here, the shadow on his wings. I'm just going to keep this mostly that same color. Alright, I'm going to draw those down. He's got a big knuckle there. He's got a big knuckle there. Let's see, a knuckle here that goes around that way, and a claw. Let's see, a claw there. This for me is kind of the hardest part. When I've made so many marks on my page, I know where it should be. I want to follow in the lines, and I just get a little lost in there sometimes. Maybe you guys get some of that same feeling. I get it all the time when I do something little like this. It's hard for me to see these little tiny spaces too. There we go. Got a little bit there. Alright, I think I need to do a little bit under his eye over here. I think that'll really help his eye to stand out. So I put some down. I'm going to just take it away on one side. There we go. I think that helped. His eye stands out a little bit more now. Alright, I'm going to get a slightly larger brush now, and we're going to try to put a background on here. Let's see if I can get any green or brown. Coax some out of here. Yeah, looks like we can get some. Alright. I want to put into here a little bit of, maybe not quite that bright of red. Maybe I should stick with my brownish color. Let's see, I'm looking at the clock. Still got a little bit of time. I'm going to use a little bit of this ochre too. I think that's not so bad. Actually, I'm going to tone this down, and to tone it down, I'm going to use just a little bit of green. There we go. And I'm just going to quickly scribble this in. You've seen me do it before. You've seen me do this with a flat brush. Using the same technique here with a round brush, just lay it right on the side and draw it right on through everything. Trying to go pretty quickly. I want to cover as much of this as I can in as short amount of time as possible. There we go, right up around there. I don't actually want to be the coverage here to be uniform, so I'll dip into the water and put some water here, put some water there. Alright, let's see. I'm not going to go all the way in there with this one. There we go. Alright, let's go right on around his head there. Good, good, good. I'm just going to throw a big blob of yellow in here somewhere. I want to keep this nice and wet. And right about now you're saying, aha, he mixed up some green. What's he going to do with the green? I'll tell you what I'm going to do with the green. I'm going to mix it in here. It will mix in. It's going to make it look kind of like a forest floor, maybe. Sitting out in a field in the fall. The colors aren't totally green. They're not totally red, orange. Kind of a mixture of everything here. There we go. Let's get some of that good color in here and tone this down a little bit. You'll see I do that with the red. The green that comes out of this kit, this palette, it's actually fairly bright green. I don't really want it to be that bright of green. The opposite of red on the color wheel is orange. The opposite of red on the color wheel is green. So the way you tone down a color by using its opposite. So you drop a little bit of our green color in there and it immediately tones it right down. So I just switched to a little smaller brush here. I can get into these little more delicate places. I'm leaning over pretty far. You're probably just looking at the back of my head there. That can't be a lot of fun. So let me get around some of these feet. I don't mind a few highlights in here, but I don't need quite that many. Oh, jumped right out of my hand. So there we go. I'm just going to throw some ochres and some other yellows in here. Not necessarily trying to get any particular pattern, but I definitely want to get it in before it dries. Get some of this green in there. I want it to look like it's an out of... Okay, my camera dropped off. I apologize for that a little bit. I didn't realize it had stopped. Let me tell you what I did while you were gone. I blue dry it. I put in a couple of shadows here and there, and we're back where we are. The last thing I want to do is just give the indication here and there of a couple of feathers, right? Just tiny little lines. Basically, they're just going to be lines to let you know that there's some texture on this bird. Not a lot. We don't need much. I like to do a little bit around the bird's eyes. You're probably not even going to be able to see too much of what I'm doing. A little bit on his back. I'm going to just do a couple there. This color is probably even a little too bright for what I want to do. And one or two here and there along his breast, just to give you know, I want to do it with the curvature of his body. So way down here on his underside, it's going to be way curved over. Up here, it's going to be curved out to show that roundness. We want to put enough marks on here so that anybody who views this is going to be able to see, their eye's going to pick up that there's a little bit of something going on there, but we don't want to do too much. Let's see if I can zoom in to show you what I'm talking about. Maybe I'll be able to, maybe I won't. You can see, I think, just, oh, there might be something around his eye right here. Just a little mark, not much. We don't want to do too much of anything. And that's the last step that I do. So with that, I'm going to call this painting done. I'm going to sign it and sign off. Here we go. I'm going to sign it right, I don't know, right under here. Kind of right in the middle where everybody has to see it. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed painting with you. I hope you come back to the studio. Please subscribe to my channel to ensure that we get to paint again in the future. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.